Author's note. This is a special review of Batman vs. the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, with special thanks to ghostoftime1. Based on Batman by Bob Kane and Bill Finger, and the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles by Kevin Eastman and Peter Laird. Directed by Jake Castorena. Published by Warner Bros., DC Comics, and Nickelodeon Studios. Starring the voices of Troy Baker, Eric Bauza, Darren Criss, Baron Vaughn, Kyle Mooney, Ben Gurks, Rachel Bloom, Brian George, Jim Mitzkeman, Tom Kenny, John DiMaggio, Tara Strong, Carlos Alazraki, Keith Ferguson, Cass Anvar, and Andrew Kishino as Oroku Saki, aka The Shredder. Rated PG-13.
Wild guess here? This might be his car.
Hey, what's up, ninjas? How would you like a radical member of the team? I bet I could be as great as a bat or a turtle. Cowabunga!
Tell me, Diamondo, was Batman vs. TMNT a crossover you ever expected?
No, not even by its original comic, and even more so, this film was enough to blow me away.
Absolutely no arguments from me. With all the references and love letters to fans of both franchises, this film delivered on all fronts.
Not to mention that it was in its own unique universe. This allowed the characters of both franchises to interact in a way that did not involve dimensional travel. How cool is that?
And this combination of two franchises also allowed for some fight scenes that we didn't know we wanted until we actually saw it. The first example being Batman vs. the Shredder.
You picked the wrong battle, warrior.
But before we get into that detail, let's talk about what the story is all about.
Yes. Contrary to the title, the story centers on Batman teaming up with the Ninja Turtles to fight against Al-Ghul, who has formed an alliance with the Shredder. Though initially, Batman did go up against the Turtles, mostly due to a brief misunderstanding.
Like I said, I never imagined seeing the Turtles and the Batman in this kind of crossover. What's even more impressive is that Warner Bros. And Nickelodeon went ahead with this.
Not only that, Warner Bros. And Nickelodeon made this crossover work by staying true to the source material. And let me tell you, that is no easy feat.
It's the bat! Fire! Fire!
Do I look like a friggin' bat to you?
No kidding. And like I said, sticking the Turtles in the same universe as Batman also helped out. It's a different set of characters, but it works wonders.
What really impresses me is how naturally each conversation flows. The characters all interact in a way that doesn't feel forced. I especially like the bickering between Raish and Shredder.
And it's obvious that, despite their partnership, they both have a distrust towards each other. It's either through the effectiveness of their own clans, or it's more about building their own power.
While we're on the subject of villains, I have to say, this film gets downright brutal. While it keeps the violence within the PG rating, the implications are more than enough to make a child quiver in fear.
I'm the man who broke the bat!
You mean PG-13. For a Turtles film, it's far more violent than anything I've ever seen regarding Turtles media. And you did mention the fight between Batman and the Shredder.
A fight well worthy of both franchises. I'm seriously glad that the fight wasn't one-sided between either of them. Batman is a well-trained martial artist after all. Combining those skills with all his fancy gadgets allowed him to battle Shredder on pretty equal terms. And I honestly wouldn't have it any other way.
Then again, the Shredder did barely beat him on the first round, and that was through a last-minute Sato Oshii strike. Quite impressive if you ask me. By the way, fun fact, Troy Baker voices both Batman and the Joker in this film.
Michelangelo, press some buttons.
Likewise, Tara Strong is the voice of Harley Quinn and Poison Ivy.
Speaking of which, what are your thoughts on Batman's own rogues turning into mutants?
Terrifying, but downright epic all at the same time. Each form fits the characters incredibly well. Though, let's be honest, Poison Ivy really drew the short straw in this regard.
That's saying a lot, but on the flip side, the Joker was at his most menacing as a cobra. He even took delight in turning Batman into a vampire man-bat.
Something that not only transforms you,
that drives you mad.
Batman's certainly lucky that Simon Belmont isn't in this film. Joking aside, that form is actually a clever nod to the actual Man-Bat villain. I'd even say that it references the Batman Beyond episode Splicers. In that one, Terry McGinnis suffered a similar fate.
And on a final note, of the 4 turtles, I found Leonardo to be the most interesting of the group. He cares a lot about his brothers. In fact, that nightmare he went through involving the Scarecrow showcases what happens if they did die out.
In my case, I found Raphael to be the most interesting. While he constantly retains that tough guy exterior he's become famous for, he nonetheless cares deeply about his brothers. Amusingly, he shares a sort of complicated friendship with Robin. But what surprised me is how Raph was the one to motivate Batman to stick together. That is a huge display of maturity on his part. On the flip side, I didn't really care much about Michelangelo's humor in the first half of the movie. But it got better once Batgirl started joking around alongside him. You could say that Mikey reminds me of Johnny Cage. Donatello, of course, is the tech genius we all know and love. While I'm not a big fan of his thinner design, I can see why the artist took that approach. As for Leo, you pretty much took the words right out of my mouth. I'd hate to see what would happen if the other 3 were killed right before his eyes. That Scarecrow is one seriously messed up creep.
Any last words?
Cowabunga.
Overall, in the end, Batman vs. the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles was a surprise we didn't expect, and a film that satisfied fans of both franchises. And all of this on their own respective anniversaries. 80 years for Batman, and 35 years for the Turtles.
Indeed. This crossover is a true celebration of both franchises, taking the best of both worlds and creating an action-packed spectacle that's as satisfying as a pepperoni pizza fresh out of the oven. Oh, speaking of which, I think our pizza is just about done.
Hey, I prefer pineapple pizza. That stuff's the juiciest on any slice, without a doubt. Couple that with onions and bell peppers, and that's a treat worthy of my taste buds. Besides, pepperoni.
Is there a doctor in the house?